chairperson of Contralesa, and all the distinguished guests that are here today. We are going to start with our program. Those who have collected the headphones and channel 1 is English, channel 2 is Afrikaans, channel 3 is Setswana, channel 4 is Zulu, channel 5 is Ndebele, channel 6 is Venda, and channel 7 is Xhosa. Are the rapporteurs here? Can the rapporteurs indicate whether have they arrived? Ngakho umuntu ondinceda ucheckisha DG by rapporteurs sezikhona na, so that we start with the presentations. Asizuhamba ngala order ka 1 2 3 ogqibileyo siqala ngaye. All of them. It's commission. Commission 1A is here and Commission 1B. Can I call Commission 1B? Oh, 1A is already here. Ngamilu Commission 1. Hlala phansi Commission 1B. We'll start with Commission 1A. We're giving each rapporteur 12 minutes. Not more than that. You can be less, but not more. 12 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I'm going to be presenting on behalf of Commission 1B. Deputy President, Ministers, Deputy Ministers, traditional leadership led by the Chairperson of the National House, Amakhosi asendlunkulu, abantwana begazi, all protocol observed. I'm going to be presenting on behalf of Commission 1B, A, not B. Our commission was facilitated by DDG Ramasodi. The theme of the commission was land administration and tenure in communal areas. We had 6 sub-themes. One is land holding mechanism in communal areas for communities. The second one was form of land tenure system and land rights. The third one was land administration structures in communal areas. The fourth one was capacity building of traditional and Khoisan leadership, including their communities, the communal property association, institutions and trust in communal areas, or land under traditional leadership, the role of traditional leadership and government on land administration. The deliberations from the commission, these are the voices of the commission members, and on the issue of land administration regarding outer boundaries, the voices almost, they said land shall be transferred to traditional councils. The minister of the department or the state should transfer the land to its original owners, that is the traditional leadership and their communities. Land with traditional councils should be transferred to traditional council to further avoid issues of succession within communities in the future. Traditional communities needs to be given an opportunity to make their own decisions regarding to whom the land should be transferred. Challenges regarding relationships between communities and their traditional leadership needs to be addressed to ensure smooth decision-making regarding to whom the land should be transferred. Transfer of outer boundaries to kingship or queenship Under such circumstances, if those exist or the communities decide so, there should be a process to define the territories of the kingship or queenship. And again, since all traditional leadership, they receive authority and delegations from royalty. Still on the outer boundaries, on land with traditional communities, the members also propose that the state should avoid dual ownership of land, where we've got communal ownership mixed with private ownership in the cases where there are CPAs, traditional communities where land is communally owned. The state should protect communal land through policy and legislation. Once land is transferred, they still have to state as an obligation to make sure that that land transferred to communities or traditional council is protected. State should support traditional communities and traditional leaders in identifying their boundaries to avoid any boundary dispute or conflict over land between traditional communities, because in some cases there are overlapping boundaries. State-owned land used by traditional communities or state-owned land neighboring these communities and used by these communities, the state should release this type of land to expand communal land for the benefit of communities. State should also indicate where does the land, state land occupied by traditional communities, where does it belong? In instances where there are traditional leadership, but the land is in the name of the state, but it's not yet proclaimed as communal land. Inner boundaries, where there is land, where there are traditional councils, the state should avoid private titling on communal land, transferring internal boundaries to individuals and families. They feel they pose a danger to rural communities in losing the land for through financial institutions in terms of loans. Since most of these communities earn a living through social grants, that can easily be tempted to make collateral, get money, and the land, they might lose the land. Changing circumstances must also be considered when dealing with communities or rural communities. The state must also put that and develop that into policy and legislation to deal with such changes, because the communities evolve. The land is fixed and cannot be expanded. Therefore, land is allocated according to the needs of communities in communal areas. The granting of title deeds in communal areas for inner boundaries may promote discrimination against vulnerable groups, women and children. You will pardon me, I've never presented in front of a deputy president. Another form of ownership or confirmation of land rights with more than one minister. Another form of ownership and confirmation of land rights or form of ownership by individuals or families, they need to be explored through policy and legislation to protect communal land. In cases where the outer boundaries land without traditional councils, there was an acknowledgement that there are communities in our country where there are no traditional councils, but they live as a community. The state should transfer the land to the community in their own name, or structures chosen by those communities to hold the land on their behalf. Proper mechanisms and controls to be developed in policy and legislation to protect the interest and land rights of community members as owners. The structures like the land administration structures must be established by the state to support the communities in land administration and management to such communities. The state should also consider the land that has individual titles. The members also raised an issue that in some communities there are persons or communities or households or individuals who bought land as a community, a group of households. However, because of apartheid, that land was never transferred to their names. It's still held in trust by government. And then those must also be considered because they paid for that land, although today is regarded as state land. The state must provide training and capacity building, not only training and capacity building to these land administration officers, but resource them as well. In the boundaries, the Commission proposed that in the boundaries where there are no traditional councils, the communities must be supported if they choose to transfer the land entirely to individuals or communities, households or families, so that they can have their own title deeds in those particular, if they choose to do so. Communities also should be allowed to decide whether they want to own land collectively or allocate individual titles to the communities or their members in their land. The state should develop proper guidelines, though, in policy and legislation on the composition and functions of land administration structures. They were feeling that we mustn't keep it open. The state must guide in terms of the composition and how they will be selected, the committees or these land administration structures to assist communities to administer their land. The state should provide capacity building, as I've said. The state also must define what it means to have security of tenure in communal land. It's a big question. Then the state or department should consider further consultation with all the kings and queens post the land summit on this subject. The 13% communal land is very small and already congested, and the state should be focusing on how the traditional communities can access 87% commercial land beyond the 13%. Lack of capacity in the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development to provide support on land administration in communal areas must be considered by the state. The Act governing the traditional leadership structures and functions, they say they provide a democratic process in the appointment of the members of the committee of the traditional councils. Therefore, they feel that that council is properly constituted to provide for land administration in their communities. They raised an issue around the land court bill, which has taken too long, has been pending for far too long, and government must make sure that that bill is finalized. The slow pace of settling land claims affecting the communities, they causes conflict amongst communities, and that process must be expedited on claims that have been lodged by traditional communities and their tribes. The Roman Dutch law is foreign in Africa. The state should recognize customary law and indigenous practices in dealing with communal tenure or communal land. The state must provide mitigation measures to prevent or stop the new emerging phenomenon on the land dispossession or repossession by banks or financial institutions in these communities. The department needs to intervene urgently. This was a side issue that was raised, which needs urgent attention from the department on Makatini Flats land disputes, which might cause a problem. Claimant communities together with the communities using the land currently. The issue on the issuing of title deeds to the so-called plus farmers, especially women, they also propose that if the state wants to keep it under leasehold, but at least a certain portion of that land must be given freehold, while the rest can remain under leasehold. Tenure system in South Africa there are two tenure systems that exist in South Africa. Therefore, the proposal is that what exists currently in communal areas must be maintained. Land administration, the proposal is that when dealing with land administration, let's deal with the transfer of land and then the legislation and policy to how to administer that piece of land. Towards closing, There is a land dispute mechanism which has been proposed to assist the communities. The beneficiation also must be considered on land transactions that come out from these communities. The regularization of existing developments in communal areas. There is mining happening. There are a lot of developments. Sometimes some of them are illegal. The ownership of land in communal areas. There is a feeling that in communal areas, we talk of 13%, but what is there is less than 13%. So we're still sticking on 13%. We might go there, we might find that there is no longer 13%. That is why they proposed the audit and the establishment of the King and Queen's Council, the new tenure systems, and the clear timelines in terms of concluding this resolution from this summit. One honorable Inkosi from Free State, I think is the youngest, he proposed 6 months from today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commission 1B. Please stick to time, 12 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think I'll be able to do that because these two commissions, A and B, were dealing with the same. They were dealing with the same issues. What we'll do, we'll just pick up the areas where we need to just do additions without repeating the other areas. On the land holding mechanisms, our commission said we must identify the different holdings, and the Commission 1A has identified them: the kingship, and queenship, and also the areas of chiefs. But this commission has just added that we should also add community, clans, and household and tribes, because in those areas you might find that there are certain people that identify themselves in a particular way, maybe as a tribe or a clan. You should allow that to exist within, because it creates a lot of conflicts if you don't have a framework for that. And all these holdings, that we should provide a legislation that that recognize these proposed land holdings, and that clear definitions must be made around them all to say this is what they mean when we choose them, and that the communities then be allowed options, so that we don't have one size fits all, options to choose which one to follow. On tenureship, I think most of it has been covered by Commission 1.
Sorry. But DM Mahlobo is dealing with them. Sorry for the interruptions.